Hey, listeners, are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Well, do I have the app for you? It's called Anchor. Anchor will get you out on Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify, and many, many others. Not only that, Anchor will find you sponsorship so you can get paid. That again is Anchor.fm, Anchor.fm. Welcome to Abe's Front Porch Talk. Tonight I want to talk to you about government bailouts to corporations. I do not agree with this. I am not a big fan of corporations wanting their hands stuck out to our government and saying, we need your help now. Because here are some reasons why. And I'm not here to argue with anybody to say if you do agree with them that companies need to be bailed out or not. I'm not here for all of that. I'm just telling you the reason why I do not believe in it. Now, I will listen to your opinions, what you think, but this is nothing to argue about, is what I'm getting at. This is nothing to have a heated conversation over or a good debate about and stuff like that. It's just how you feel personally about it. And, but this right here, when corporations, let's just say when you get injured on your job and corporations have told you all they're going to pay is your medical bills and what they have paid out to you while you were off, but you realized you're not going to be able to go back to work and you need more money, and the company you had worked for said, no, we done paid your medical bills, we paid you for your time off, and this is it. So you have to get an attorney. You've got to try to file a lawsuit against this company you work for. Then this company you work for, being a corporation business, has attorneys, no telling how many attorneys work for them, that they can hire 3 and 4 to your 1, and they know this. And let's just say you have $1 million lawsuit coming, and the attorney you hired knows this too. And you've got to pay your attorney out of this $1 million settlement. You're going to win. Hopefully, you're going to win. This is what you're looking for. But these corporations can drag the case out in court for years. 10 years down the road, you're still stuck, struggling, can't go get another job due to some type of major injury. Let's just say you had your legs crushed and broken your arm, and your arm was crushed. Well, you didn't have to lose any limbs, but you had to go through a lot of therapy. And now that you know you can't go back and you're suffering with chronic pain due to this, well, they're not willing to pay, but they're going to drag you out in court over $1 million for 10, 20 years down the road here, hoping that you're going to give up with their 5 attorneys they've got working for them to your 1 attorney, and you're doing all it takes to put food in your house, to get the bills paid so you don't get your electricity turned off, hoping you can make it to your doctor's appointment and get the office visit paid and get your medication. And if you are a single person on your own with no family that can help you, and maybe your family is dead and gone and you're struggling, then why do corporations need to be bailed out if they can't bail you out? You were a faithful employee for them. If you worked for that company day in and day out for 6 months to a whole year and you were injured, it doesn't matter if it was 5 or 10 years. It still does not matter. You put all this work and effort into that company for them. They should pay you something more besides a paycheck each week. especially when you became injured and they knew you were a strong, hard worker. But it still doesn't matter. If you was injured on that job, they need to pay. Anyways, now they want to drag this $1 million court out. You finally get to court, let's just say for an example here. You're in your courtroom, in this courtroom, before the judge and jury, and the jury decides on the corporation. The judge makes their ruling, and you lost. And there you are, still stuck in the dark, driving an old beat up vehicle that you don't know if it's going to get you back home on. You barely able to afford the fuel that goes into that vehicle. You're barely able to afford the insurance on that vehicle. And you just lost your $1 million case that you should have won. And hopefully your attorney that you hired is only one that will only get paid if they win your case. Now, but these attorneys that work for this corporation, they go home to their nice, fancy, comfortable, king, queen size bed with good mattresses so they can sleep good. They probably live in a 5 to 6 bedroom house, probably 2 to 3 story home, made of bricks, no telling how many acres they live on. They can hire people to do the landscaping for them. Probably have a good live-in maid. And I'm not saying they do, some don't, but some does. Then you're stuck still having to make your own meals. You've got to struggle to have your own breakfast cooked. You've got to make sure your house is cleaned. You've got to take care of your yard. And God forbid any errands that needs to be done and you don't have the money and you're not able to go to work and Social Security has not came through yet. So now when a pandemic like this coronavirus is out here, this COVID-19 that's killing people, and now corporations are falling and they're wanting a handout from the government, a good government bailout. Why? When you treat your employees like this, not only this, you may not been injured, but you might got terminated from your job and it was a wrongful termination, and the supervisor and district managers of these places would not want to hear it. But the corporation, they don't want you calling in making complaints on the supervisor or district manager. How they handle the situation is fine with them, as long as they leave the CEO or president of the company or anybody else out of it from higher up, because it was handled by the supervisors. And then you live in these states that are at-will state. Well, since you're an at-will state, don't bail these corporations out until law changes. Quit having an at-will state. Get rid of them, basically. Get a company that will treat their employees right. Get a company that will say, hey, we will pay for our employees. If they are injured on the job, we will make sure they are taken care of the rest of their life. If they end up with crushed legs and crushed arms, they will receive a benefit package from us the rest of their lives. Even after we are shut down, we will build a trust fund up in their name so they can have it. They will have health care. You see what I'm saying here? Not where you just left off in the dark somewheres and struggling. You know, here's another thing too. I have heard incidents. Now, I just said I've heard. I've heard incidents where people was pulled up in the parking lot at their jobs. And They were trying to walk in to clock in to go to work. And they were run over in the parking lot. But because the employees was not clocked in when the incident happened, when that employee did not get clocked in when they got ran over, they refused to pay. But you're on the premises. Now, these are things I've heard. But yet, the corporation says you must have been on the clock when the incident happened. Well, heck, there's no time clock outside in the parking lot nowhere. I got to get inside the building. You see my point? But yet, now the tables are turned and they want this bailout. They want a government bailout and a pandemic like this. For they're losing money and they know they're losing. So, I mean, why should they? Why should not laws be changed? Hey, if you're an employee of this company and this employee was ran over out in a parking lot and was not on clock, why not should that company pay for everything? Now, let's just take it at this point. Now, let's just say, okay, let's just say the corporation paid for the medical bills since the person was injured on the property. Now, let's go at this. And they only paid for all the medical bills and maybe physical therapy if there had to be any from being ran over by a vehicle. But any other further assistance that needs to be, they say no still. Because you were not on clock when it happened. But we were gladly, because it was on our property, we were glad to pay your medical bills for you and make sure your doctors was taken care of. But anything else we're not going to take care of. Why not? That was your employee. That employee worked hard for you day and night. That employee showed up a lot. And it really doesn't matter. They was an employee to your company. So this tells me, as an employee, we're nothing to you. We're just your little employees that making minimum wage or whatever they're getting paid by this company. And they still don't care. And by the end of the day, they got their own family. They get to go home to and have a nice meal and go somewhere on vacation or out to eat. But yet, now that they're losing and realize the company's losing money, they're not going to get paid. Now, where is the bailout? Why should we get bailed out from corporations? Why should corporations get a bailout from the government? If they can't bail out their employees when they get in trouble and make sure they're taken care of for the rest of their life, why should our government bail out these corporations and take care of them for years? Why could there not be another company come in and say, hey, we will take care of you? If you get injured outside, before you can come in and clock in on our job, because you was here, you were in the parking lot, that still is considered like being clocked in to us, and we will take care of you the rest of your life. That's the way it should be. Now, I don't know if some companies have a policy, even if it's legal or not illegal to have a policy. I don't know. But what if there was a company that, while an employee was working, and they're on the clock, and the rule was If you fall, you're fired before you hit the floor. Now, let's just say if this was, something that really did happen or really is. I don't know. I'm just making this up for like a good example, okay? So, and this is a rule. You fall, you're fired before you hit the floor, which means you're automatically terminated no matter how serious your injury is. They don't have to pay your hospital bill. They don't have to pay nothing. No workman's comp, no nothing. But yet, they got by and saved a lot of money, and now when the tables are turned, they're wanting a government bailout, but could not pay you for your injuries. Corporations can fire and hire anytime they want to. They can terminate you for any old reason because it's an at-will state. And they don't care how much you're struggling to get your rent paid or any bills paid, and if you are taken care of or not at home and you got something to eat, because that's not their problem. That's your problem. As long as they're taken care of and they got the food in their house, that's all that matters to them, and a warm place to stay. But you, they don't care. You're just somebody who works for them. What about these corporations that when you work with your supervisors, and I can name some, but it's illegal for me to start naming names, so I can't do that. And that's another thing that gets me. But anyways, these corporations, they say in most places, they have a rule that if you see your supervisor outside in public somewheres and both of you are off the clock and you're not even in uniform, but if you run into somebody out here in public, doesn't matter what retail store it is or at a convenience store or whatnot, you run into the person in public and you say hi, both of you, the manager and the employees, automatically terminated both from their job. Especially if a district manager is around the corner somewhere and both of you did not know they was there. Or another employee was standing around somewhere and reported you both. And see, now everything's going down. Oh, please help us. We need the help from the government. Bail us out. We're losing money. Do you see where I'm coming from with this? Now, I understand everybody needs a job and everybody is wanting to do a job. But when it comes down to all these points I'm making here, and if we're in these at-will states, why not? I know somebody told me that if the corporations don't get bailed out, we could go into a state of depression. We'll go into another depression like before. Well, they come a long way since the beginning of time when God created the earth in Genesis, haven't they? Do you not think we could rebuild back again? But this time, take a different approach, different ways of going at this, so people are not just being terminated from their jobs just for any old reason anymore. There's more corporations now out here than it ever was before. And you lose one job, and you go and put an application in another one, and at an interview they need references, and they call your old job and they give you a reference to your old job, good or bad, then they take that and like, I don't know if I want to give this person a chance because I didn't get a good enough reference. All that should be stopped. That shouldn't be going on. I could see if someone's stolen, they can't just come out and call you a thief or anything like that that I know of. But they can drop hints enough to still hurt you. So, there's supposed to be, or I thought, there should be laws to help the small people like me and you. But in reality, there's not. And when I'm doing my podcast and starts reading scriptures from the Bible and stuff, I'm not trying to get religious. I'm not trying to bring religion or get religious. I'm trying to make points and facts to everything. And maybe some way I am. But I still make good points. If you still check out my episode about rich men weep and howl, you will find it. And listen to that episode and you will see. So now, after I made these points and statements about being injured at work and how corporations can get by without paying you a dime, basically, because they paid some of your medical care and you still needed more money because you couldn't go to work, lost a lawsuit after quite a few years or even a year, and I did an episode about going to court too with unrighteous judges, having an unrighteous judge to hear your case instead of the saints. Let me say this, it says in the Bible too that don't you know the saints will judge the angels in heaven? And when you have a judge who is unrighteous and a jury and a prosecutor and an attorney that's all unrighteous because they got the evil, do you not think God's going to cast all sickness and diseases upon this earth and bring any of you down? He will bring anybody down. And I believe that's what this virus is doing. And it's the work of God. And his wrath is up on us. And he's no longer playing because he's tired of seeing his children suffer. He's tired of seeing the people suffer. Those who claim to be Christian or not Christian, he still sees their suffering and their strife and the struggles, and he's tired of it. He wants things changed. Now it's up to us as people to make the right choices and do the changes. So, are you going to make the right choice and change? Let's hope so. Thank you for listening to Abe's Front Porch Talk. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you like, please hit the subscribe button. Check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Hit the like button there. Don't forget to leave me a comment. If you have Castbox, on Castbox you can leave a comment to my podcast, and I would love to hear from you about this episode and many of my other episodes. Thank you so much.